guess without saying this review of The Iron Claw. Got to watch it last night, and I was really in awe of the performance of ZacEfron. I think he's definitely going to be in the running for Oscar buzz because he was really that good in here as Kevin Von Erich, the second oldest of the Von Erichs. And if you guys, the reason why I wanted to watch this so bad, because I am a wrestling fan. I also watched Dark Side of the Ring as a wrestling documentary on the Von Erichs, but understanding the history of the Von Erichs. And I still remember also as a kid, as many pointed out, the Texas Tornado, even with Kerry Von Erich, I used to really think that was the Ultimate Warrior without his paint. And I was like, oh, that might be a different person that plays the Ultimate Warrior, because the way that his hair was, as his physique was so built, I was like, that's the Ultimate Warrior, but it was really Kerry Von Erich. And I felt like the fact that the things that played the Von Erichs was their curse. I love how they mentioned that in this movie, like, man, we're a cursed family, like everybody here knows the curse of the Von Erichs, that type of thing. And they grew up, and as their dad was like their centerpiece, he was also that one that put a lot of pressure on them. And if they fell short of that, then it's like, what now? And it's like their dad would be like, well, whatever, you're next, next, that type of thing. Like, he was very strict and stringent on them. And that brought up a feeling of competition always with them, you can tell, but it made them really good as far as athletes. He really raised a bunch of athletes, but he always looked at Mike as like, what are you going to do? Like, scrawny, so it's like, you need to be in the wrestling business, you need to be in the family business, you need to be working out. But he loved music, so it was like, he was kind of that, you're always going to have that rogue kid where it's like, I want to do what I want to do. It's like, I'll have to follow into the family traditions and stuff like that. But their dad was an old school dad, never got that. But I love how they introduced what they did in the ring. And as far as Kerry's Von Erich's backstory, like, he was really a party animal, basically. And he was training to be an Olympian, which I never knew that. So President Carter was like, we're not going over there because, basically the Cold War. So he was kind of forced to be in the wrestling business, and when he didn't really mind it, he was already athletic. But, it didn't show his drug use until later, but you could tell he probably was doing all that. But everybody knew that he was like, yeah, he can drink a lot. Like, he was really a party animal. But you could tell, with the drinks and the steroids and the drugs, it was going to get a hold of him sooner or later. And particularly when Kevin Von Erich had his shot, but he hurt his back, and then the NWA Heavyweight Championship never passed through their town again, only because their dad was like, that was something I truly wanted, and you could tell as when he was, young, and the kids were young with Jack Jr. and Kevin, that's what their dad pushed for, was you be heavyweight champion, it's no stopping this family. And he never was able to achieve that, so that's what he pushed his sons to do. And they go into the story of Jack Jr., being 5 years old, passing away, and what that did to Kevin was like, yeah, you wake up one day, you don't have anyone to play with. And I was like, that cut deep, so that probably made him more soft-spoken and mild-mannered the way he was. And then the second brother, I believe, was Dale. If I'm getting it wrong, I'm so sorry. I do apologize. Or Dylan. And as he was really good on the mic, he wasn't as bulky as Kevin was, but he was really, really good on the mic. And Kevin was all about performance in the ring. Like, I can do performance in the ring, but he wasn't really good because he was very soft-spoken. Meanwhile, Dylan, I'm really upset I'm getting his name wrong, was really good on the mic. So when that chance of getting a heavyweight championship shot, it went to him. So he was in a feud with Flair, and then at almost the tail end of it, before he went to Japan, had a stomach bug, but found out that his intestines ruptured and he passed away. And basically changed the whole family, and it went downhill from there. You never really got to see them committing suicide, or their untimely demise, should I say. Only with Mike, as what he did in the mirror, but with Kerry, you did to a degree, but it wasn't as gruesome, So it was kind of like what went on, but it was in a dramatization fashion for a movie. But I feel like Jeremy Allen also really did good as playing Carrie Von Erich. But I was telling myself, I'm like, Zac Efron and Jeremy should have switched places, as Kevin was more scrawnier and Zac Efron could have played Carrie, who was way more bulkier. So that's why I got that confused in my trailer reaction. But I still told myself, I'm like, nevertheless, their story was one for the books. And then whoever played Flair, I hated it. It's Ric Flair. You could have did Ric Flair, but only if I see that some of the Flair, some of the interviews that he was given, it was, you know, mainstream interviews that we all know it, but it was never really tailored from, this is who I'm exactly talking to. They just pulled different type of interviews together and just let him talk. But whoever was Flair did a horrible job of playing Ric Flair. But I wish that Ric Flair would get a theatrical biopic about himself, and whoever can really nab down that Ric Flair voice, it can really play Ric Flair, because it's not hard to play Ric Flair and do his voice. But if you have copyright infringements in place, then I totally understand, you know. But I also, I was telling myself, I'm like, didn't the dad also come to his untimely demise? But they didn't show it. But it kind of wrapped up when, because it's truly a story about Kevin and how he outlasted that family curse, as he changed his kid's name to Atkinson and sold the wrestling business and have his ranch with all his kids and his grandkids live there. So I was telling myself, it was basically a story of him. It's not a redemption story, but it was just of their family, you know, and their family dynamic. And he really loved his brothers. And then, you know, you seeing his kids play, and it just hurts him, because that's one thing that'll really rip you up. And it's like, man, I used to be a brother, now I'm not, you know, like I don't have brothers. So, because he did everything with his brothers. His brother was his best friends, you know, and when you have 4 boys, I can completely understand. I really give this movie a 9 out of 10, only because even with Carrie, you only just seen him hobbling, like you didn't see the actual car accident. So they didn't go to the gruesomeness about what happened to them. It just showed, if you're a wrestling fan, you know, but if you didn't, you can kind of follow along of this is what happened. But I'll hate the fact that we didn't see what actually transpired of, you know, him getting the accident, and they had to, you know, go through the drama of cutting off his leg and all that stuff, and then how he was going to go through that. But I truly give this a 9 out of 10. I really feel like this is definitely Oscar worthy, Oscar buzz coming around the corner. And yeah, it was a couple of times I really had to catch myself from crying. I really did. I didn't tear up. I was tearing up, but I didn't cry. You know what I'm saying? So maybe another pass through, watching it on streaming service, I'll definitely probably tear up or 2. So I really love this movie, and it should have been included in my top 10 movie of 2023. This would have definitely been like 5 or 6 in my book. So you guys enjoyed my review of The Iron Claw from A24 Studios. Subscribe to my channel, post a comment down below, and like the video. It's your boy, D Dyson. Peace.